Uh, we are now faced with a development plan which is going to determine the future of this city and of different areas within the city for over 20 years. The last development plan was in 1991, and the one before that was in 1967. The 1991 development plan spoke about decongesting Mumbai, and the present development plan is an interesting document which most of you must read, and it says a lot of things about the city. Funnily enough, the aim and the objective of the development plan, as we see it, is to make this city into an international financial center. And in the process of making the city into an international financial center, there are a lot of sacrifices which all of us would be having to make, as one can see from the document. I'm not going to bore you with quotes from the document, but the floor space index, the FSI, in this city is going to be increased tremendously. For instance, the island city that is between Mahim and Churchgate on one side and Colaba and Sion on the other has a floor space index FSI of 1.33, which is general, and that FSI is sought to be increased to 5. It means an island city of Mumbai with 1.33 plus another 1.33 plus another 1.33 and plus another 1.33. So with 5 FSI, there would be 4 island cities, one above the other, without knowing whether the roads would grow, whether the schools and colleges would increase, whether the hospital beds would grow. Doesn't matter, it doesn't really matter. As long as we become an international financial capital, it doesn't really matter whether the roads should increase or the open spaces would increase or decrease, or whether the schools and colleges become more and more difficult for people to get admission into. But then that's what the island city is going to be. And if you are lucky enough that you live in and around railway stations and in and around the metro railway stations especially, then you are entitled to an FSI of 6.5, 7, 8 and even more. That's pretty much about the island city. If you take the suburbs of Mumbai, presently we have an FSI of 1. That 1 was increased to 2, with 0.33 being bought from the government and 0.67 being bought from the market in the form of TDR. And then this 2 was further increased to 35% fungible FSI, which means 2.7. That's where we stand today. Under the new regime, the minimum FSI that would be permitted to us would be 3.5. And if you're lucky in some areas, lucky or unlucky depending on which side of the table you're sitting, you get an FSI of 5.5, 6.5 and 8 if you live in Andheri and are on the Andheri metro line. And the same facility of the Andheri metro line to be extended to the underground metro stations, which would come somewhere near Linking Road and so on. So that means with a city and the suburbs which have 1 FSI will have 3 more layers on that, 3.5 more layers. And if you are in specific areas It would be 5 layers, 6 layers, and so on. And how are we going to take care of the amenities and facilities? The development plan is very clear. They say that give permission for development, and the more you develop, the more there will be space and the more money will be generated, because the surplus area will be sold and the government will get 60% of the ready reckoner as a price in return. And once the money is there, then that money will go, if at all, towards making amenities. So first have development, have more development, and again more development, and then that will generate some money, and hopefully the money will come back to the city. I must give you a small example of what happened in the past 3 years. We had this new system called fungible FSI, which meant that suddenly whatever FSI was available to all of us, it increased by 35%. And that is where the surplus FSI that was given for developers to sell had to be sold at a premium, and the municipal corporation was permitted to collect this premium. With just one stroke of the pen, every year the municipal corporation got a minimum of 3,000 crores for 3 years plus, only out of the premium from the fungible FSI. And did our facilities increase? Last 3 years, 10,687 crores paid by us to the municipal corporation. Has our life become better? When the money goes there, I must tell you that the lowest paid employee in the municipal corporation, who does the worst of the menial jobs, gets 35,000 rupees per month plus a hefty bonus, which amounts to almost 1.5 months' salary, irrespective of whether he works or not. There was an item in the Times of India which stated that a driver working for the municipal commissioner gets paid 3 times what the municipal commissioner himself gets. A salary of a municipal commissioner would be 80,000 rupees a month, and a driver with his overtime and the kind of hours that he puts in is presently entitled. They gave specific examples of which drivers got what, to 2,10,000 rupees a month. So as and when the revenue to the municipal corporation keeps on increasing, what happens is the salaries become fatter and fatter. The municipal corporation has several loans, and most of the money that we contribute as property taxes either goes for salaries or goes for maintenance of their buildings or goes for servicing the loan. There is hardly any money left for you and me. The system of property taxes, which used to be the rateable value system to calculate the property taxes in the good old days, has been converted into a capital value system. Now just understand what the rateable value system was and what the capital value system is. The rateable value was calculated on the basis of the standard rent, and 11 months standard rent would become the rateable value of the place. As history has it, our rents were frozen due to several reasons, and because of that the rateable values remained low, and so the property taxes were not as much as the expert felt they ought to be. And so we went from one extreme of low rents and low property taxes on to the other extreme, wherein irrespective of whether I live in a new building or whatever, if the neighboring plot has been developed and the developer is selling the flat at 60,000 rupees a square feet, then that becomes the capital value of my premises as well. I get certain amount of depreciation. And on the basis of the increasing prices and on an ongoing basis for lifetime, as the prices of selling in that area keep on increasing, my property tax keep on increasing. Ideally, property taxes should have been connected with the services given by the municipal corporation. Sure enough, you give good services, charge heavy taxes. But then you don't improve on the services and keep on increasing the taxes just because the neighboring plot has been developed and the developer has been lucky enough to sell his flats at ₹1,00,000 per square feet. I got to pay double the amount of property tax that I paid earlier. Now, all this put together is really going to bring us to a situation wherein many of us who've lived for generations in the older parts of the city would really find ourselves in a situation where our amenities reduce by the day. We land up paying more for what we have, what we are getting in the form of water, drainage, sewage, all the amenities go down by the day. The number of vehicles and the pollution in the area keeps on increasing. And then there is a development plan which, instead of thinking in terms of decongestion measures, is going exactly the reverse and permitting free for all kind of a situation with increase in FSI. Now all this has just been announced, and the great elected representatives belonging to all political parties did not bat an eyelid before they introduced the development plan for suggestions and objections into the municipal corporation, and everyone approved it without discussion in a matter of, hold your breath, 4 seconds. No one even asked as to let us see what we are going. They said everything is done. In any case, this is now coming up for suggestions and objection. So this is not going to be final. People are going to suggest and object. Then there is going to be another committee which will go into these suggestions and objections, and that committee will give a hearing to all those who have objected, and then the committee makes its recommendations, and on the basis of the recommendations made by the committee, those recommendations will be accepted by the standing committee or whoever, and then the development plan will be changed, and then that development plan will be reintroduced into the municipal corporation, and then there will be a series of deliberations where our elected representative will have the right to talk about it on the floor of the house. And after that, that will be approved, and then it will go to the government. So there is a long way yet to go. So don't even bother to check what's happening there. So it just got introduced, and no one even asked for a debate before introduction. And that's how we are landed ourselves with this particular development plan which has been put here. And we have 60 days, of which I think, how many? 25 days are over? 25th April is the last day for submission of objections. So we will give you a format as to under what format you have to submit these objections, because perhaps if you write a comma wrongly, they may say that this is not in a proper format, so your application can be rejected. So don't even, and they've warned us that you are not even supposed to take photocopies of the format and sign on that, and you are supposed to write everything again and sign. And instead of several people signing on it, I think each one of us should register a separate objection, so that all of us would be invited in turns to come and present ourselves before the committee appointed. And if we feel there is a full development plan, and I think your association has made CDs of it. So those of you who want to carry those CDs and read the entire thing, you're welcome. There is an executive summary which may take an hour and a half for most of you to read. You must go through every bit of it and then check what are the reservations which were there, what are the reservations which have been removed, because a fantastic stroke of the pen, jugglery has been done with the development plan. A simple thing, the idea is the municipal corporation exists, but the municipal corporation doesn't exist because they say, we have been there, but the slums have come. We have not been able to stop the slums. So what do? We permit more development rather than stopping, because if we have not been able to control them, then remove all the reservations on which the slums have been there. By one stroke of pen, 3,000 reservations for garden, playground, hospitals, schools, where slums have encroached upon the plots which have been reserved for specific purposes, have just been removed. The reason that there are slums existing there, how can we wish them away? So why keep these reservations which we can never follow? So just remove them. And what happens, under the SRA scheme earlier, there used to be a scheme wherein if the reservations are there on where the slums are, then in the process of developing the lands on which the slums are, you could have the reservation as well, and you could, if it is kept for a school, then you build a school, you get extra FSI for the school and accommodate the slum dwellers and have some free sale area. But even that has been removed. For garden, playground or open spaces, the formula was 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. The formula was you keep 1/3 for the playground, keep 1/3 for the slum dwellers rehabilitation, and build sellable area on the remaining 1/3. So even if the whole property is developed, at least 1/3 of the plot is given back to the city. Now, instead of getting that 1/3, the whole plot reservation seems to have been removed. So all this has been done. Compare the existing development plan with the earlier development plan, and if you feel that this kind of development is going to be great, good for you, helpful to you, then you're welcome to take some flowers and present it to those who have made the development plan and say, great job. But however, like a few of us who have been studying urban development all our lives, feel that this would have disastrous consequences to the city and to the lives of all the residents of the city. If you feel that's what is going to happen, then please register your objections. And now's the time, because we have about a month left to register our objections, go through the development plan, go through the intent of those who are responsible to make the development plan, find out how it's going to affect your lives, check the reservations on your sheet. Another thing, earlier there used to be reservations for residential, which means only residential. Commercial means commercial, and a mixed, which means commercial and residential. Now there are only two broad reservations. One is RC, which is residential and commercial, and the other is CR, means commercial and residential. There is no third. So those of you who have been raising strong objections in your residential building where someone comes on the ground floor and converts it into commercial, saying that this is not permissible, now that is going to be the rule, and you are going to be the wrong people objecting to the correct kind of thing. So all this is happening, and we are all going to face it whether we like it or not. And so it's up to us to make up our mind and take decisions as to whether we are going to take it lying low, whether we are going to oppose it, whether we are going to take charge of the situation and check up with our elected representative what they have been doing when this kind of a development plan has been thrown at us without even checking with us whether we want this kind of a development plan or otherwise. In short, it means And mind you, when this FSI is increased, this FSI will have to be bought. It doesn't come as a right. And it gets bought at paying the ready reckoner price or a part of it. That means huge amount of money will be paid to get this extra FSI, which the builders will do. And when they pay, their cost itself will go up substantially. And once the cost goes up, the selling price will also make it prohibitively expensive for anyone to buy flats within the island city. Funnily enough, the development plan also admits a few things. I will refer to them and then I will take questions from you. It does admit that all over the world, what is affordable to a person to buy a house is considered to be 5 years annual income of that individual. Which means if you earn ₹1 lakh a month, then a flat for 60 lakhs of rupees would be affordable to you, which means the kind of loans that you would take, your income would be good enough to service the loan and yet give you enough to run your household and make your expenditure, which is a correct measurement of what is affordable to people. Now let's take the island city. The highest rates of selling in the island city are from Kafparat downwards to Shivaji Park, everything towards the sea and up to the railway line to the west. Worli Sea Face, Nepean Sea Road, the selling prices are 1,50,000 to 1,75,000 per square feet. And they go on, the cheapest you can get there in that region is about 40 to 45,000 rupees per square feet. Then you come to the next area, which is to the east of the railway station, that is Marine Lines, Bombay Central, portion of Tardev, Nanas Chowk, going further into Parel, and of course Hindu colony, Parsi colony and so on, where between 30 to 40,000 rupees per square feet is the higher side, and the lower side in the worst of the areas could be 25,000 rupees per square feet. Means a reasonable sized one-bedroom hall kitchen would in any case in the island city not be less than 3 to 4 crores in the down market area, and up market of course 10, 15, 20, you don't even know. You can't even calculate the kind of zeros that you put. In the suburbs as well, similarly, between the sea and the railway station would be the most expensive real estate, whether it's Bandra, Khar, Santa Cruz, Juhu, Versova and so on. That becomes the most expensive stretch. Then comes the stretch between the railway stations and the highway, Western Express Highway. Then comes the stretch between the Western Express Highway and beyond. And that's how. And the lowest, I mean, even in the farthest suburb of Mumbai like Dahisar, I'm not taking Mulund because Mulund, despite being the farthest suburb, is so close to Thane that the Mulund prices are way high. So even the farthest suburbs of Dahisar, a decent flat would not be less than about 1 crore of rupees, which means that the cheapest flat available in a decent area in Mumbai, your income should be on an average 15 to 20 lakhs of rupees a year. So that means anyone earning less than $1.5 lakh a year cannot afford to buy a flat. That's the present situation. And with the new development plan, I have absolutely no doubt whatsoever in my mind that the prices will really go up. The question is, it is unaffordable to all of us. It is unaffordable to 98% of the population. So what do? We chuck our present flats, take whatever money, go to the distant suburbs in the MMR region like Panvel, like Kharghar, like New Bombay on one side, like Nala Sopara, Virar on the other, like Thana, Kalyan, Dombivli on the other, and then save some money so that that money can be invested in fixed deposits or somewhere, and we can pay the property taxes of the new flat that we buy somewhere way. So this, to my mind, is a very wise way of getting the whole city vacated so that we can come back with our grandchildren and great-grandchildren like we do now and go to the Prince of Wales Museum and tell them that, you know, there used to be a person called Shivaji and this is his sword or whatever. So say that once upon a time your grandfather or great-grandfather lived in this part which used to be called the old Bandra and now it's called Bandra or something, or I don't know what it may be called later. And then, and so, you know, but times came when the great development plan came, and in the interest of the development plan of this great city to make it into a great commercial hub of the country and the world, we all decided to sacrifice, and so you and I now have to live at such distances, and the ones who could afford could survive and be here. So this is essentially what this development plan can throw to us. I tried my level best to try and find out at least 5 good points which I could place before all of you in the development plan. Couldn't really succeed after reading the whole document several times over again. And I think it's time for all of you not to go by what I and others who are considered to be experts in this subject tell you, but to read for yourself what is there, see this plan, take advice from the experts as to how it's going to affect your life one way or the other, and then register objections. There are huge amount of objections that have started pouring in, and people are coming and raising objections. If these objections are of a magnitude where the government at some stage realizes that there is a major outcry against what they are trying to do, perhaps some reasoning may dawn upon them. Perhaps they may even think of reconsidering some of the draconian laws that they want to bring in. And we really need to be very vigilant. We really need to impress upon them that we are not going to take things lying low this time. We have understood what is the game plan that is in store for us. Finally, this is all an effort to throw us out of this city which we love the most. We are not going to tolerate this kind of thing, and we are going to protest against him, rise against this kind of thing, and tell those people that enough is enough. We have tolerated you for all the nonsense that you've given us, not anymore. And we are going to say that we do not want this kind of nonsense out of what you call us our development plan. So this is not a plan for our development. This is a plan for evicting us from this city. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mr. Chandra Shekhar Prabhu. Now, can we request